Good morning. It is Saturday, July 31st at 9:10 in the morning. My name is Larry Cedar, and I'm back with you for another session on what I call scanning, spelled Sqanning. That's it. Scanning is a relaxation technique which utilizes the incremental release of muscular tension going from this, squeeze your hands together, to this. The incremental release of muscular tension to achieve a deep state of physical, emotional, and mental calm. That's it. It's so simple. All you're doing is this, squeeze your hands together, and this, release. That's all you're doing. Which begs the question, if it's so simple, why every time when I'm about to do a session do I not want to start? Why every time when I'm about to scan do I not want to scan? Why? Now I know better now. I've been doing this long enough to know not to trust my instincts on this, because my instincts, whenever I go to scan or release muscular tension, tell me don't do that. Stop, don't do it. That's dangerous, that's scary, whatever. My instincts tell me that, but I've been doing this long enough now to know that if I do it, I will feel better and it will be better for me mentally, physically, emotionally. I will benefit from the release of muscular tension. So again, the question, why not do it all the time? Why can I only manage to squeeze in half an hour a day of practice? Why can I only do one of these sessions a day? Why do we resist letting go? It's a good question because it gets to the root of the issue, which is that so many of the problems we have in our life come from holding on, from holding tight, from not letting go, from not releasing. Physical issues, mental issues, emotional issues, spiritual issues. We can't let go. And we hold on tight, and we think instinctively that when we're in a problem situation, we should hold even tighter. So that makes us even more restricted, more contracted, as I call it. So we hold on even tighter. And it's a cycle, and we know we get into it. And sometimes we get so deep into it that we're in trouble. We literally just don't know how to get out of it. And as I've mentioned before, if we move in life on a spectrum between contraction and expansion, we become highly overly contracted. And we instinctively know that that's not good. Even though we did it to save ourselves, to protect ourselves, we got muscularly, mentally contracted. We know it's not good. So we instinctively seek out a solution. We try to expand, either through alcohol or drugs or a therapist or a masseuse or a chiropractor or a vacation, which is great. All of these are fine as long as there's not terrible side effects. But what we're trying to do with scanning is come up with a technique that's absolutely free, very simple to practice, learn, and apply, and can give you that power, that strength, that ability to save yourself from an overly contracted state. And again, if we know it's good for us, why is it so difficult to do? Because letting go is very difficult. Out of fear, we hold on, and so we're afraid. So you have to practice, because what practicing does is it gets it in your muscle memory, in your spirit, in your mind, in your soul, that it's okay. Letting go will be okay. Not only will it be okay, it'll be amazing. And if we do move on a spectrum, on a continuum in life between a contracted and expanded state, we begin to see that we can contract, we can become very intense, we can think about things, we can work hard, we can hold on to our ideas, our thoughts, our political beliefs. We can do that as long as we remember that in life, we would like to be ideally balanced. You contract, but you also expand. So because we're generally overly contracted in life, we practice scanning to bring us back to center. So let's get started. All of these techniques are based theoretically on the writings of a man named Thaddeus Golas, Golas. He wrote a book called The Lazy Man's Guide to Enlightenment, which I've been reading for probably 30, 40 years. I've literally memorized the book. And he talks about how the entire universe is made up of two basic forces: contraction, squeeze your hands together tight, and expansion, release. Those are the two basic forces of the universe. So if you want to understand life and everything that goes on in it and the universe, just do that. Squeeze your hands together. That's contraction. That's one part of life. And the other is expansion. 3, 2, 1, release. So you see that? You feel that? That's it. Everything. Everything. According to Thaddeus Golas, and I tend to believe him, everything is based on those two basic forces. And in life, we vacillate between contraction and expansion. Sometimes we're more contracted. Sometimes we're more expanded. So when you're feeling out of balance, when you're feeling overly contracted, the solution, expand. We're better at contracting than expanding. We do a lot more of that. So we practice expansion. We practice scanning to balance our life, to get equally as good at letting go as holding on. And that's it. So let's get started. Squeeze your hands together, tight, tight, tight. That's contraction. 3, 2, 1, release. That's expansion. Feel that? Take a deep breath. That's expansion. Sit for stillness for 15 seconds. Take a deep breath. These are all expansive steps. So scanning is the incremental release of muscular tension, but associated with that is deep breaths. Breaths are expansive, and stillness and silence. Stillness and silence are expansive. Why? Because the opposite of that is doing, making noise, saying things, arguing. These are contractions. We're pulling together thoughts, ideas, words to advance an agenda. So muscular release, breath, stillness, and silence, all fundamental tools of scanning. So we're just going to do that for the next 15 minutes and see where it takes you. And trust the process because, like I said, instinctively, we don't want to let go. We want to hold on. So there'll be, if you're anything like me, a great deal of resistance to this process. The reason we release muscular tension incrementally is because we don't want to scare the body. We don't want to say, let go of all your defenses, drop all your thoughts and ideas and concerns and worries, just let them all go. Because we go like, no, I'll lose control. So we do it incrementally. And we use the muscles to guide us there. The muscles are dumb. They can either contract or expand. They can't do both at the same time. So we use them as a way to nudge ourselves into a more expanded state. We start with the hands. Squeeze. 3, 2, 1, and release. Feel that? Take a breath. So this preliminary step is to kind of get it in our heads, get it in our understanding, our physical understanding that there are two states, contraction or expanding. And we can distinguish between the two. And as you become more of a connoisseur of this practice, you begin to recognize when you are in a contracted state and when you are in a more expanded state. And as you become aware, you can then take control of that process and move yourself into a more expanded state, should you so desire. You know, I'm an actor. When I start a play, I go into a very contracted state. That's fine. That's great. I learn my lines. I practice my blocking. I interact with other actors. I listen to the director. I perform the play. These are all contractions, the bringing together of thoughts, ideas, energy, notions, plans to advance an agenda. That's fantastic. That's what makes us who we are. As long as you remember to balance equal amounts of expansion as contraction. So I must take those moments when I can to also let go of everything. Let go. One more time. Squeeze your hands together, tight, tight, tight. Really feel it. Now hold it for about 10 seconds. And associate that feeling with your contracted self. Feel that? Fantastic. That's strength. It's also restricted. I can't move my hands. It's also starts to get uncomfortable if I do it for a long time. So contraction has its advantages and disadvantages. The only problem is when you're overly contracted. So now we're perhaps overly contracted. Now we have the choice. 3, 2, 1, release. Feel that release? Take a deep breath. 10 seconds, absolute stillness and silence. So we've just moved ourselves into a more expanded state. And I say this because it's really important you understand the simplicity of this technique. Really, the most difficult thing about this technique is starting. The practice of it is so simple. Overcoming your own resistance is the most difficult part of it. Once you begin to expand and let go, it feels wonderful. Everything works better. Everything in your body, your mind, your spirit works better when you are more relaxed. So take the chance and begin to infuse your day with moments of expansion. So now we're going to work through what I call the muscular zones. And we do the same thing every session. Every session is exactly the same. This technique is meant to be learned in 1 minute. And the only reason I review it and do the same thing every day is just to help remind people, if you're interested, in how the technique works. I do it every day, outside of this session for at least a half hour or an hour a day, sometimes more if I can. But just to remind you how simple it is and to encourage you to just take these small, simple steps, these incremental releases of muscular tension. It's called scanning because we're scanning the body looking for pockets of muscular tension. We're using the very simple functions of the muscle. Either they can contract or expand to guide us into this expanded state. And the reason we use the muscles is because if you've ever tried to think your way out of a problem, well, thinking is a contraction. So if you're contracted and you just contract some more, you're really, it's self-defeating. What you want to do is let go of thought. And if you let the muscles guide you, if you let them release tension, that will infuse the whole being with a sense of expansion, which will in turn influence the mind, a muscle of sorts, holding on to thoughts, ideas, concepts. It will relax and all those thoughts and worries and concerns will drift away. So the mind is tricky. You don't want to contract to get rid of contraction, but you can use the muscles to expand and influence the mind so that it will in turn let go. We're doing an end around. We're getting around the mind by using the very simple function of the muscles to begin the expansive process. So, zone 1 is the face. Scrunch your face up. let it go. We're very expressive. Faces are meant to express emotions. So we're familiar with the feeling of when it's contracted or when it's expanded or released. So we're going to do that. We're going to, on my count, let go of all the tension in your face that you can, incrementally. It can be a very small amount, doesn't matter. Remember, you can't expand and contract at the same time, so any amount of expansion is of value. On my count, you're going to release all the musculature tension in your face, and if it helps to look in a mirror, do that. You'll see the drooping, and you will have expanded the face. 3, 2, 1, and release. Now you see that release? I was holding myself up. I was, as they say, keeping it together. I had a certain amount of muscular tension in my body that I was maintaining instinctively to keep control over my world and my life. And I was just deciding to let it go a tiny bit. The face. 3, 2, 1, and release. There it goes. Now that sensation, that tiny, tiny release of tension, is the core of scanning. That feeling of, ah. If you're holding up the world, just let it go. That feeling is what you want to repeat and repeat and repeat. And I say incrementally because it's cumulative. So you feel like, well, I didn't relax that much. I still feel really tense. Yeah, but you did relax a little bit. That's all you need. And if you keep doing that, it's cumulative, and the rest of your body will soon follow suit. See, the body pays attention to everything that's going on. If something happens in your foot, you're aware of it. If something happens in your elbow, maybe your foot will tingle. Everything's connected. So if you relax one part of your body, the rest of it goes, oh, there's a relaxation party going on. Can I go? It'll start to want to join in. This is how the body works. Nothing can work in isolation. So as you start to relax one part of your body, the rest will follow, and you'll begin to feel a sort of wave come over you. As you begin to move into a more expanded state, and it takes over, it will replace that contractive state, and you'll feel this shift. And at one point, your body will just say, oh, I get it, and it'll just let go. And depending on how long and how successful you are, you'll get into a deeper or deeper expanded state, and then stay in that state as long as you want. I can't sit in my room like just relaxed and zoning out and saying nothing forever. I got to get back to work. I got to go back to contracting. Again, contraction isn't a negative thing. It's when we're overly contracted. But learn how to move between those two states like a time traveler. And then you get control over your state of being, your state of consciousness, and you can move through life with greater ease. You don't have to feel a victim of circumstances. You will recognize when you're overly contracted that you can move into a more expanded state. You can clear your mind. You can calm yourself down. You can relax physically. You can sleep better. You can sit in stillness and silence in comfort and not feel antsy and anxious. You can be at peace with yourself when you're expanded through practice. That's zone 1. Zone 2 is the top of the head. So see if you can feel any kind of mental tension or things you're worried about, and they're all kind of in the top of your head. And on my count, just let that go. Feel that muscular release from this to this, the top of the head. 3, 2, 1, and release. You feel that drooping? Again, the top of the head. 3, 2, 1, and release. So now you have the face and the top of the head. The back of the head is zone 3. 3, 2, 1, and release. You go, well, release the back of my head? What does that even mean? Well, as you start to learn this process, you may not necessarily have a consciousness of your muscular tension, but we're building that. Through practice, you're beginning to understand where you're at a muscular level. And you'll go like the back of my head, oh, I do detect some tension there. And I'm going to let it go. 3, 2, 1, and release. And you will begin to get better and better at this. So you can literally direct the muscular tension in your body. That's what practice will do for you. But again, small increments. If you feel the smallest shift, that little bit of, you've done it. It's that simple. It never has to be any more complicated than that. Solutions don't have to be complicated. Sometimes they're just as simple as just letting go. Take a breath. See, sometimes we need things to be complicated because it feeds our ego. If we're practicing some technique, we say, well, I took a year course in this technique, or I read 5 books on it, or I paid $4,000 for this course. And that makes us feel like, well, this must be good, but it doesn't have to be. It can be so simple. The simplest solutions are best. Sometimes we don't want to accept that they're the best because how can that be? How can that have any value? Well, the value is in its existence. It's free. Zone 4 is the neck. Feel the tension in your neck. 3, 2, 1, and let it go. I always feel my shoulders drop when I do the neck. They're associated, closely associated. Let's do the neck again. 1, 3, 2, 1, and release. Now you've done the face, the top of the head, the back of the head, and the neck are all 1% more relaxed and released than they were 2 minutes ago. That slight shift is gold. That's all you're looking for. And it's important to remember that, because you'll be in a situation sometimes you go like, oh, I'm so tense, I can't relax. What do I do? I'm so worried, I'm so anxious, and I'm just I feel it. I can't take a time to scan now. Well, just take a breath. Just sit for 15 seconds in stillness, silence. So just that 15 seconds, you've broken the cycle of contraction. You just got to remember to do it. But as I said, the greatest challenge in scanning is starting, because typically we don't want to let go. On some level, we feel instinctively like holding on, obsessively thinking, keeping our bodily tension, keeping our anger. Somehow we feel like that's our power, our strength. We don't want to let it go. But I'm here to tell you, you will benefit if you let it go. So frequently you're just at war with yourself. You basically are having to tell yourself, I know you don't want to let go, but we're going to do it anyway because we know it's better for us. The hardest thing for me sometimes is just letting go of my attention. I've been doing this for years. It's still a challenge every time. But I know now that I'll feel better, so I make myself do it. Zone 4 is the neck. Zone 5 is the shoulders. You're going to let them drop 1 millimeter, just the slightest bit. Think of the tension we hold in our shoulders. We keep them up around our ears. All we're doing here with scanning is letting go of incremental amounts of muscular tension. The shoulders, let them drop. 3, 2, 1, and release. Now you're starting to slump in your chair. And that's good. People always say, sit up straight. Yeah, it's good to sit up straight. Not always. Sometimes it's good to just let go. Don't try. Don't do anything. Don't be prepared for anything. Just be. The shoulders, 3, 2, 1, and release. Deep breath. See how we're starting to let go now? A sign for me that I'm making progress towards expansion is I feel more comfortable with silence. I'm suddenly start to instinctively feel the value of silence. I don't have to fill every space with words or thought. Silence begins to have value. You begin to understand instinctively how a more expanded state, silence, released, relaxed, quiet, doing nothing, is of equal value to contraction. Getting things done, thinking, worrying, talking. Equal value. Not trying to take away from one or the other. Balance. We typically are more contracted. We're just trying to bring ourselves back into balance. Take a deep breath. Okay, so we've done the face, the top of the head, the back of the head, the neck, the shoulders. Zone 6 is the chest, down to the waist, the front of the waist. Just feel what tension you might be holding in this area. If you say, I don't feel anything, I'm not really sure what you mean, don't worry about it. Just decide on my count to let go of whatever is going on there. 3, 2, 1, and release. The heart. We protect ourselves. Our body is our armor. So it's natural for us to want to hold on to tension. We're protecting ourselves. It's hard to be vulnerable. It's hard to open up and say, I refuse to defend myself at this moment. I'm completely available and open and vulnerable. It's very scary. And every particular zone has a fear associated with it. And if you begin to kind of tune in and investigate, you'll see what those fears are. Everyone for me is just like, I'm making myself vulnerable. If you think about it, if you consider, why am I not willing to let go of that tension? What's going to happen? Well, it's all about emotion. It's all about physical danger. It's all about keeping control. All of those things, letting go of those things is fearful, makes us fearful, but it's just an emotion. I mean, it's just a concern. It's not real. You're sitting in a chair. You're not going anywhere. Nothing's going to happen to you. So push past that resistance and let go. Zone 6, the chest. 3, 2, 1, and release. Now, as always, what happens to me at this point in these sessions for myself is I'm surprised. I go like, damn, I didn't know I was holding so much tension. I thought I was pretty relaxed when I started this session, but as I'm starting to let go, I'm going, wow, I was working. subconsciously, I was working. I didn't even know it. Now I'm turning off that contractive motor. Zone 7 is down the back and into the pelvis. Okay, you're sitting on your chair. Just see if you can sink a little further, a little more deeply into your chair. 3, 2, 1, and release. The back again, down into the pelvis. 3, 2, 1, and release. Now here it is, Saturday morning. I have no reason to be tense or worried. I'm not working. I haven't even started opening up my computer or looking at anything. And yet I'm carrying all this tension. Isn't that amazing? And I'm beginning to let it go. We can accumulate tension, contraction in your sleep through your worries, concerns, your dreams, your nightmares. All that stuff can happen. You can wake up sometimes, much more tense, and you have no understanding as to why. I was sleeping. Well, our mind is working overtime and our subconscious is working overtime. So now you're physically moving your musculature into a more relaxed state to relax your consciousness as well. Zone 7, down the back and into the pelvis again. 3, 2, 1, and release. Deep breath. 10 seconds absolute stillness and silence. And I find when I practice this that I start to really enjoy the silence. All of a sudden it makes sense to sit and do nothing. That's you. That's what I like to call your original self. No job, no name, no plans, nothing, just being. Feeling your heartbeat, hearing your breathing, feeling the air on your skin. Now, it seems illegitimate. People are like, well, why would you want to spend time doing that? You're not doing anything. You're not accomplishing anything. You're just sitting. You're not thinking about anything. And I go, yeah, that's the whole point. That's a place that it's totally legitimate and valuable to visit at least a few times a day, a place of nothingness. And I've started to move into that space because I've started to expand. Through the release of muscular tension, my entire being is moving into a more expanded state, a more accepting state, a more relaxed, calm state, a more clear state, a more empty state. If you've ever had a cluttered desk, it's very hard to get things done because all you see is confusion. Well, that's like our mind and our consciousness. There's so many things going on in our heads, the world, politics, health, your job, your family, and you just can't think clearly. So when you come into a still, silent place, it's as if you clear the desk. There's nothing on the desk. Now, someone says, here's an issue we need to deal with, and they put that one thing in front of you on the desk. It's much simpler to focus on that issue now. There's nothing else distracting you. You've cleared your workspace. Again, you're going to get back to work. We need to. You're going to have a very complicated life and obligations and relationships and job. You're going to work really hard. That's fantastic. But you also need to come back to a place where you clear all that away and you start again. That's expansion. Zone 7, down the back and into the pelvis. One more time. 3, 2, 1, and release. And finally, zone 8, the feet, down the legs and into the feet. Now, you may say, I'm not sure how that feels. How do I relax the musculature in your feet? Well, even if you can't figure that out, even if you can't understand that, the mere process of trying to focus on your feet, trying to search for how your feet are feeling is what this is all about. You're literally trying to get back into your body. We get so in our head, we get so ahead of ourselves, trying to achieve our goals and meet our challenges and responsibilities that we lose touch with ourselves. So part of the scanning process, moving to a more expanded state, is tuning in once more to your body. As I said, your original self. This is all we are, is flesh and blood and bone. It's really important to stay in touch with that. This is it. This is what you get one time, then it's gone. So think about your feet, and even if you can't necessarily feel what's going on, the mere process of trying to tune into your feet is helpful. You're tuning back into yourself. And what happens with me, when I start to think about my feet, they start to throb. It's as if they said, oh, you're paying attention to me. Thank you. Your feet need attention. Your body needs attention. It needs care. It needs caring for. It needs to be helped by allowing it to relax and take it off duty every so often. Give it a vacation. Allow the blood to circulate. So your feet are thanking you. They're saying, thanks for thinking of me. I appreciate it. And as you know, healthy feet is healthy for your body. All those nerve endings in your feet, that's what reflexology is. So think about your feet for a second. Mine are already starting to throb just from talking about them. And on my count, release an incremental amount of tension in your feet. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, and release. Again, the feet are very vulnerable. So it can feel scary to release tension in your feet. Because if your feet are exposed, feet are amazing. Here they are, these delicate, sensitive, parts of your body. So sensitive to touch and the shoes you wear. It's so important. And yet, look at the work they do every day. They carry your body weight anywhere from 100 to 300 pounds all day long. They take a pounding on concrete, whatever you're walking on. How can something be so strong and so delicate? So they're amazing. So give them the attention they deserve. At feet, 3, 2, 1, and release. Now you might start to notice as we've begun to move ourselves into a more expanded state through the incremental release of muscular tension, you're starting to feel your heart. You're starting to feel your pulse. You're starting to feel a sort of pulsing sensation. That's because constriction also closes off the blood vessels. So as you release tension, it opens everything up and you start to feel the blood flowing. You feel a throbbing in your head, your feet, your knees, your hands. Everything is opening up. You become a much more effective instrument. The human body needs to be open and thriving. So you're starting to open up now. So tune into all these things. Tune into the throbbing sensations. Tune into the breathing. Tune into your comfort in your chair, how you're now beginning to sit in a more still, quiet state, more comfortably. You don't feel a compulsion to go do. You're actually happy for a moment to do absolutely nothing. And you've moved yourself into an expanded state. So that's it. So this is all I do with these sessions every day. It's just review. Again, it's a very simple technique. If I had to write a book on it, it would be 1 page long. So just tune into this. I mean, we can direct our consciousness. We have the power to direct our consciousness. We know that. We can choose where we want to be. So we choose very often to contract, to solve our problems through a book we read or a lecture we attend, or a doctor we go to, or any number of things, a pill we take, the alcohol we drink, the drugs we smoke or ingest. We make choices. So all we're doing with Sqanning is to recommend or encourage you to make a choice to incrementally release muscular tension, to move yourself on a more regular basis into a more expanded state for your health and well-being. That's all we're doing. If that instinctively resonates for you, fantastic. If it doesn't, that's cool too. I do this for myself, and I like sharing it because I really believe in it, and I'm compelled to share it. Don't ask me why. I just feel like doing it almost isn't enough. I'm so excited about it and its effectiveness as a technique in life that I just feel compelled to share it. So if it's a benefit to you, I'm glad. If it's not, thanks for visiting. Anyway, that's it. It's called Sqanning, Sqanning, the incremental release of muscular tension to achieve a deep state of physical, emotional, and mental calm. If you missed any or all of this session and you want to review it, I'll repost it on my Facebook page. I will also post it, as I do all my Sqanning sessions, on the Sqanning Facebook page, Sqanning. Just do a search for it on Facebook and you'll see it right there. And I end every session with the same rule. Rule number 1. Love yourself. Love is the most expansive act you can take in the universe because it involves opening up and accepting what is. So love yourself, all your good qualities, your bad qualities. Just love yourself, and you will have gone a long way towards moving yourself into a more expanded state. And when you are in a more expanded state, you are also capable of giving more love to others. So you can pretty much heal the world. Thanks a lot. Have yourself a great Saturday, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.